Welcome in, everybody. We're trying the best we can to get back to the way things were, but welcome into the Danny and Albert show. I'm Danny. And,
I'm Albert.
The other side is Albert. And in case you're new to the show, hopefully you're tuning in tonight. We're excited to have you. I, again, am fooling with too many things here, and I'm trying to get back to the nitty-gritty. And in case you're new to the show, the format of the show is this. Albert is in Los Angeles, and I am here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And so Albert is a 3-hour time zone difference, so he's in the Pacific time. I'm here in Eastern time. It's 10 o'clock here, but good to see you, bro.
Good to see you too, man. It's also too, it's one way we decided to do the show, and we said this earlier, is like, you know, we usually talk once a week, you know, chew the cud and stuff, so we decided to share some of our thoughts with you. So what's up, man?
Yeah, well, I had a pretty good week. It was hot, man, today all day long, just extremely hot on the bus. And what happened? Something happened that was just hilarious today. I had guys on the bus. I work for the transit system, by the way. I work full-time for the city of Indianapolis transit system, so I drive a bus here, and 2 guys were on the bus, and they started to get into it, and politics, of course. So that's another reason why we got to just stay away from politics on the show. So these dudes start getting into it on the bus. It doesn't get heated or any of that, but they're just going at it, you know. And then one of them is like hardcore Republican, and the other one's like hardcore Democrat, and they're just going at it on the bus. And next thing you know, one dude starts shooting Bible verses at the other dude. And then the Republicans start shooting verses back. So next thing you know, they're fighting and they're shooting Bible verses back. And I'm laughing. I'm cracking up. And I can just see like God in heaven, like, hey, guys, I'm a libertarian. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. But just crazy, man. But we're doing good. So happy Labor Day to those joining us and have a 3-day weekend. You got any plans for tomorrow, bro?
No, actually, I went out today. I work so many hours as an editor that I just wanted to kind of veg and relax and stuff. And, I just wanted to veg and stuff. But then, my girlfriend was like, oh, are we going to do anything? And I'm like, she's right. It's like, it's not just about like relaxing. We get a 3-day weekend. You should relax. You should go out and do something. So I did something I haven't done. I've been here for 8 years. I've never been to the LA County Fair. And I went today, and it was amazing. Like, there's a reason I get into, I'm an editor. I love like watching people and their little nuances. I was just amazed just seeing little kids' faces. You know what I mean? Like they walk in, I saw a little kid, he walked in. As soon as he walked in, I told Bethany, I said, hey, check him out. And the little kid was like, whoa. And I started remembering like when we went to Great America. So I had a really great time. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Especially you being a dad now too. I'm sure you experience that every time like Landon tastes something new, or just like how excited he gets over something so small.
Right. So, yeah, but one of the things that I miss about, I always look forward to Labor Day. And unfortunately, I got to work tomorrow of all things, man. But one of the things I love about Labor Day is barbecue, man. Barbecuing and any good barbecue places there in LA?
There's actually I don't eat a lot of barbecue. The thing about it out here is just there's so many different. The diversity out here is just so much. Like you name the food, they got it, man. From like Mediterranean to like Thai food to like whatever, you name it, they got it. And as far as barbecue out here, I haven't really sought it out. I mean, big shout out to Fugo de Chao. Like that's my spot back in Chicago, and they have one out here as well. And
Right.
it's like, oh man, it's like, you eat like crazy, but you can't go to the bathroom for like 3 days because you're so stuffed up
Yeah.
from all the red meat,
Yeah. But
Yeah.
well, we have a place. We haven't found any barbecue here, but we have a place back in Northwest Indiana that we love. It's called the Bombers.
Yeah,
You've
the
been
one
there,
in
bro.
Munster, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I work a short day tomorrow. It's not too long of a day, but making double time. That's what I'm talking about. After
Yeah,
the
go Union.
union, man, I'm like totally anti-union.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Till
Oh
we
yeah,
got one.
until you're in the union and you're making like
I mean, living wage.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so tomorrow's a short day, double time. What I'm talking about, like I said, and then so we're going to look for a barbecue place tomorrow if we can. But well, let's get to the show tonight. One of the things that I like about this, obviously, because something to do together, and we'd like for you to tell others about it if you can, and help us to lose our full-time jobs. And no, we'll probably never do that.
Yeah, we
But
want to break the 150 marker of viewers.
exactly.
Yeah, so we can up the production value because I saw like your French press. That like a promotional thing that someone sends you that or
Well, we're testing product placement, see how it works, and
sure,
then
yeah,
yeah. Anyway, well, one of our viewers, Matt Rogers, we went to high school with Matt back in the day at City Baptist, and Matt just chimed in on Facebook or one of the platforms and said, "Man, I'd love for you guys to talk about your basketball days in high school because you guys could ball it up." And so I was thinking about that and I was chatting with Albert and everything. I said, I don't think there's enough there to do a whole show about City Baptist, but to kind of give you some context of City Baptist, it was a school for inner city kids, and we were kind of like the pioneers at that school. But the gym, if that's what you want to call it, was a big open room with one basketball goal.
right, makeshift hoops,
Oh yeah,
no nets, like just something like what is it? Actually, not wood floors, actually like linoleum floors.
yeah, square
Bars.
tiles.
Yeah, bars on the windows. They want to make sure we
Well,
didn't get out.
I was going to get to the bars on the windows.
Yeah,
We were breaking so many windows there at City Baptist that someone said, "Hey, we want the kids to play, but they're breaking so many windows." And somebody came up with the genius idea, "Hey, let's put bars on the windows," which is probably number one a fire hazard.
right. It probably
Nobody,
was.
yeah, it was probably a fire hazard. But then number two, when you were driving by and you looked in the school, you saw these bars on the windows. It looked like some type of like halfway house for juvenile delinquents or something, And then
And there were a lot of juvenile delinquents that went there.
there was, but we were pretty good. We were pretty good at basketball, and so we started thinking about like, about this show and where did our love for sports start? You think?
Well, I think, we were raised by a single mom. And my mom used to work a lot. So what did you do back in the day? Back in the day, you dropped your kids off the YMCA at rec or like OLG, Our Lady of Guadalupe, for like crafts during the summer, where the parents, they went to work and stuff.
Right.
So, my mom, we had this rule. My mom's house is that it was almost like we were vampires. Once the city lights went on, like
Right.
the lights, from the, Chicago, they're light censored. As soon as it got dark, my mom used to have a saying that if you didn't come home by the time those things went on, somebody was going to get, taken care of, if you know what I mean. Like
Exactly.
back in, yeah. So all that to say that like our summers look like we would spend so much time at Bessemer Park, and stuff. And then my mom, she saw the interest that we had in sports, and she started getting us into more like, what's that called? Like little leagues and stuff. You know what I mean? We started doing rec and stuff like and pool and stuff like that. And my mom got us into little leagues.
Yeah, but also too, man. Like I said, I was trying to think like where do we first start to develop this love for sports because me and you were hooked when we were little.
Oh
We were
yeah,
like big time sports addicts. But part of it was just mom. Mom was very, very competitive,
yeah.
and yeah, she was very competitive, and she kind of put that competition in us. But I remember like next door there was this basketball goal when we lived at 8810 South Exchange, and we were just little guys, and just to pass the time, I might have been like maybe 6 if I remember, and I would grab a ball and I try to heave it up to that goal, and I never made it, but I kept trying, kept trying, kept trying. I remember the first time I made it, I was like, yeah, went nuts, and then just kind of from there, just started developing a love for all sports. But we were sports junkies when we were kids.
Well, it's a lot of it is too. It's like you got to remember too. It's like when you grow up. I mean, nowadays it's like you got to remember, dude. We're a lot older, so nowadays a lot of kids they sit around the TV and they watch, cartoons, or they watch their Kindle Fires, or they watch whatever. Or kids got them in the back of a van, like watching TV, or they really don't take. In my opinion, of course, this is what I'm seeing. I mean, back in the day, you didn't have that. Back in the day, it's like, hey, go out and play.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right,
Yeah,
right.
like strikeouts. I remember like.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in
Yeah.
a second. We'll get to
But
like
yeah,
what it looked like in our neighborhood.
yeah. Well, what it looked like was like a lot of working moms, a lot of people that were unemployed and had their kids and wanted the kids out of their house, so the kids would go outside, and then we would just. I remember it was everything were games. I remember playing pennies, like to try to get them on the lines. And like now that's called gambling. But like, like going to like Phil Sheridan, playing all these sports together, and like especially a lot of basketball, playing outside all day. Like I remember as a kid going out 8, 9 o'clock, and there was already people waiting for pickup games right there by our house at Bessemer.
Right. Yeah, we'll talk about all those games in a minute, but also to give the viewers this idea of it if you're not from Chicago, you may not totally understand. That's a total sports town. At least it was. I don't know. I can't speak for what the neighborhoods are now, but it was just a total sports town. It was just everybody seemed to be getting into sports. But as I was thinking about what sports look like in the neighborhood, I well, the first thing I just came to mind it was organic. So much of the sports nowadays is, and I'm not opposed to like being structured, and I'm not opposed to like being organized leagues and stuff like that. But one of the things that was so cool about sports in the city was it was just so organic. It just kind of happened. Nobody kind of made it happen. You know what I mean?
I mean, are you talking about like the baseball games over on Muskegon with Fluky,
Right, exactly.
and all these guys? I remember like we actually would play, and this is back in back when he's talking about like when my brother talks about like not structured or whatever. Like when we were done with our 3 league balls, we were done for the day.
Yeah.
And Fluky was this big dude.
That would be another good broadcast, bro.
Yeah, just on him.
Neighborhood nicknames.
Yeah.
Neighborhood nicknames.
No, this was his name. I really don't even know his real name. I mean, I don't know if you do, but
No, I don't.
we knew him as Fluky. And Fluky, he was just this big old dude. And
Remind me of Fat Albert. Remember Fat Albert from back in the day?
I mean,
big bottom, big wide, wide
he
base.
He would literally like pick up his leg and hit the ball so hard that ball would fly. It was incredible how the distance, and then like it would be exciting, but then we would get ticked, sort of like like the Sandlot, like, oh man, we can't play anymore because we only had a couple balls.
Yeah, but you remember that one time Fluky? You remember that one
third
time
base?
Fluky? Yeah,
took out
his brother. Well, no, his brother was playing third base, and Fluky did that, lift up his legs, and the dude, Fluky had to wait. Fluky had to wait 3.
Oh, he was pushing 3. Yeah, and this is like 400. Yeah, and I would say this is like he was 14, 15. He wasn't like maybe young, 13, 14, just pushing over 300. And he was a small dude.
Yeah, so he hit this line shot, which came off that bat. We were playing in that parking lot of Bowen, and he hits this line shot with that league ball and hits his brother. His brother Charles was playing third base, and Fluky hit him right in the middle of the chest with that leaf ball. It looked like a missile, knocked him out. I mean, knocked him out cold. And
we thought he was dead. All of us thought we were dead. He was dead.
Well, you remember, which was I kind of get ahead of myself by how tough it was, but some dudes started jumping around. Fluky killed his brother. Fluky killed his brother. Charles is dead.
I mean, we didn't know any better, but but very organic, like a lot of stuff like football games, not flag football, like actual tackle football. No headgear, no nothing. We'd play right there next to Bowen High School in the grass across from the Delgado's house.
Right.
Yeah. And like full on, no tag football, no nothing, just.
But yeah, again, but the thing about that was so cool, and that's the thing, and we'll talk about this when we wrap up the show, but we organized all that. We were just 8, 9, 10, and 11, and 2 or 3 kids would go over and check on a couple blocks. Hey, you guys want to play some ball today? Hey,
start knocking on doors. This is way before cell phones.
Oh yeah,
on doors, yeah,
and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. So, like to like if you're a viewer out there just kind of wondering what Chicago looked like in the early, I'm sure you were sitting around all night asking that question. I wonder what sports looked like for kids in the city in the 70s and 80s. But that's kind of how it was. It was just real organic. We even put together our own playoffs. I don't remember if you remember that. We had all the in that parking lot where we played baseball at Bowen High School. It was a paved parking lot, but we put together a tournament. We had like the Marquette Marauders, the Saginaw Sox, the Muskegon.
Right. And it was based off where you lived on the streets.
Right. Yeah.
We lived on Marquette, so like I remember it was Lalo, Albert, like Roy Boy, like all of us like on Marquette were playing in one league and they were playing Muskegon. Right. And then so on and so on. So
right. That was great. But then also I remember not only was it organic, it was real diverse, man. We have like we had everything from hockey to baseball to football to floor hockey to wiffle ball to strikeouts. It was very just very diverse.
Yeah, it was. And then the thing about it is like the structure stuff came later, when we actually played like for Bessemer and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I actually went and played for them, like floor hockey and stuff like that. And then, some of the people that we met that were like our mentors, what I'm saying, like growing up was like these people that work for the park, you know what I mean? And that actually brought us in, Danny, like, and like taught us, that gave us the structure of what sports were. Going to like Little League, going back to mom, put us in Little League. And we played Little League at Bessemer Park, Russell Square Park, and so on and so on. And I played Little League all the way up until I was like 14, 15. We played almost up to Pony.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Yeah. But, I was thinking about like how creative we were as kids, man. We used to play on tennis courts that were clay tennis courts. And we'd play hockey on the tennis court.
Well, you talk about creativity, Danny. I mean, let's really talk about like going back, way back. Talk about like, parent, like Hector and what was his brother's name? They actually next to their house, they formed. They put water in, and we made like an ice hockey rink.
Yeah, I forget their name. I can't remember their last name.
Not Delapaz.
No. I know who you're talking about, but it was
Tom and Hector.
Castellano.
And they lived right next to the laundromat. What they did was they basically took some wood and formed a block and filled it in with water, and it was like
no. They did that. They took the wood. Right. But then in the back part of that yard, it was a dumping ground for rubber tires, car tires.
Right.
And they lined that whole thing with rubber tires and made an ice rink. They flooded it and made an ice rink right there on the empty lot. And we played ice hockey.
With no ice skates, by the way. We didn't play with ice skates. We played with tennis shoes and boots.
Ah,
So yeah, that and then like floor hockey. Remember, we used to play like you see people with rollerblades and sticks. We actually play floor hockey with a rubber puck outside, full on, in the winter in the streets because the streets were all ice based off of the slush and stuff. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean it was a different time. Now I feel like a lot of parents would let their kids go out and do that because it was actually kind of. I mean, it's kids of the '70s. It was dangerous, you know. But we did play a lot of, you know, as as organic as that was, we also played a lot in like structured leagues, Denny. So
yeah, and again that was the cool thing. We did have some structure and just like you said, some leagues that we played in. But the park was great, man. The park was a great place, and that's why like I sometimes I don't know if they're still doing it, and I'm sure they are, but the city parks were just a great escape. We made some there was some crazy mentors
oh
and crazy
yeah,
coaches in those leagues,
yeah.
man.
I mean, like we had I'll just let's just state the obvious, and I want to state the obvious. There's a lot of children when we grew up that didn't have two parents. They were from single family homes. Normally, mom raising the kids. A lot
Right,
of my friends did not have dads. So that said, we had a lot of true manly men who taught us how to be men because they didn't take any crap from anyone. I mean, the following people we're going to talk about right now, no one would say anything to them in a bar, right? No one would say, like you talk about argument in buses, they would look at these people on the bus and be like, oh, I don't care what color you are, white, black, rainbow, whatever.
right.
They would not mess with these guys because these guys look like they were from South Chicago.
Oh yeah,
Old
definitely.
school Polish, old school Italian, old school
Oh,
Mexicans, all hard, like these hard men that wanted to give back to kids. And
right.
so, and one of the people that I will always remember because like he really took us in was Old Man Frank.
Right.
And Old Man Frank, what he would do sometimes because, you know, like he knew who caused trouble and who didn't. So he would actually let us in and we would have the whole gym to ourselves, only a handful of kids. And he would tell the other people, park's closed. And they would literally look through the window of like outside because we had the outside window of the gym and they'd be running, they'd be banging on the door like, hey, we see kids in there. Like, oh no, it's closed for you.
Oh,
I'm
Frank
sorry.
was.
I'm sorry. I was a misunderstanding. It's actually closed for you. They could play, but you can't.
Yeah.
Remember? Do you
Oh
remember
man,
that, Danny?
Frank was great. Frank was great, man. And that's the thing about it. Sometimes you lose contact with it. I would love to be able to personally thank him because he was just so like you said, he would do that. He would close the gym, and if Matt's watching, I don't know if you're watching tonight, but that's really where we honed a lot of those basketball skills. Every Saturday, we had a full gym
Oh,
to ourselves.
we didn't play with Mexicans. Let's be real. Like let's call it out. Our neighborhood was predominantly brothers, and we would play with the brothers. And we got our style from the brothers. They would be like wheeling and dealing, shuffling, bringing around the hoop, coming up and laying up. Taking jump shots, Jays from the side. So we learned from African Americans. I didn't grow up. I grew up around some Mexicans, but they didn't play soccer.
And I'm
No,
telling you,
no.
man,
They played
man,
baseball
oh,
and they
man,
played and we would try to do pickup games, basketball games. I don't know if you remember this because even in Hammond, I would go out with Sam and Romero and we would go look and we never went to like Mexican high schools. We went to like Hammond High. We went to where like there were solid games. You know what I mean?
right?
Where you knew you went in there, you're like, oh man, we're either gonna get in a fight or we're gonna play some ball. But either way, So
Yeah. But
I mean
Frank,
that,
but go back to Frank for a minute.
yeah,
Frank was, and he would even tell us like, um, he would encourage us to come every week on Saturday. Go, hey, the gym's yours.
yeah.
And
That
if
was
he
Frank.
saw,
Yeah, old man
yeah,
Hank.
Frank Munoz. No, that
Frank,
was Frank Munoz.
yeah, and old man Hank too. Remember
Oh, old
the
man Hank was old man Hank was awesome, man.
yeah.
He
I
was he
remember
was
like
awesome.
I mean my old man Hank.
Well, and that's another one. Wait, I'll let you go in a minute, but old man Hank was awesome because it was one of those, like you mentioned, the movie The Sandlot, and it was
People
one
were
of those
afraid of
deals
him.
where
Yeah.
people were afraid of him. And
Oh,
he's misunderstood.
because he looked like a pit bull. Like the guy was like he was bald, he was old, and he looked like something out of Goodfellas. He looked like an old like a mobster, and he would talk like very like kind of a raspy voice. What are you guys doing here? Blah, blah. He would like be like old school like
Right.
that.
Right.
But he was so gentle with you and I.
Oh man,
You know,
it was awesome. And then he would always like he would I don't know, he would do great stuff. But the one time, the one thing I remember, man, it was like a, I don't remember what it was, when he said, "Hey, my wife forgot to pack with my lunch." He said, "When do you guys want to go get lunch for us?"
are you gonna tell the pizza story? Huh?
So
Yeah.
so Albert goes, and we had a Woolworth in the downtown location of Chicago, and they had this awesome scissor cut pizza that they did by the slice, and then you could also get like a frozen
Slurpee
drink.
Yeah, like a Slurpee.
Yeah. So Hank gave him enough money to get us 3 slices of pizza and 3 Slurpees, and so Albert takes off on his bike, and it's a
now,
hot.
you got to tell the story. Like I'm like 10. I'm like 10 or 11 on a bike. You know, one of those bikes with the banana seats, like one of those old school like 1979. Like so I'm riding the bike, right, and I got 3 slices of pizza. He didn't want a Slurpee. I have 3 slices of pizza and I have 2 Slurpees. And I'm riding a bike and I'm 10 years old. So, I dropped one. I'm riding and I dropped one.
Well, on his way back. On his way back.
On my way back. Yeah. So then I come back and, I give
Hank.
You
drop a Slurpee. You drop one.
I jump a Slurpee. So, I give Hank his pizza and then I give my brother his pizza and then I start eating my pizza. And as I start eating my pizza, I start slurping on my Slurpee. And my brother Danny's like, "Hey, I thought you were supposed to give me a Slurpee too." And I was like, "Oh, I did, but yours fell back a bunch and blocks that way." And I remember
I asked him, I go, how'd you know that one was mine?
And then I gave you this right. And then Hank was laughing, but I had Hank's undivided attention because he really wanted to hear this story. And so what I did is like, well, I remember, because we had both ordered the same drink. What was it, a cherry Slurpee?
Yeah, they were all cherry. They were all cherry Slurpees.
Yeah, and so and I was like, well, what I remember is I put Danny's in my right hand, and so when I was driving and I hit the bump, his fell, and so to this day I still get grief about Danny's Slurpee. So
that was funny.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you remember about Hank, but he used to do them crossword puzzles.
Yeah,
and
super smart.
Yeah, super smart guy, but also he encouraged us to learn, because remember he would ask us questions about, hey, what's a 5-letter word for? Notice I went from 4 to 5. But we're on live. It's a 5-letter word for whatever. Right. And then when we didn't know, he would guess it. He would tell us. So he really was teaching us, without saying, "Hey, let me teach you something."
Well, no, so and cool. He would show us. He would show us it's like, but we had, I don't know what it is. It's like, I think what it was is we had a very tough mother, but my mom was very much like, always respect your elders, like old school. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And my mom would say, like, at the same time, one thing I could tell, I'm not a parent, but I would tell every parent out there, don't ever trust anyone. Don't ever trust anyone. Don't ever tell your kids to trust anyone. My mom used to say, trust is earned. Okay? And so almost like a timid dog that goes on the street and you try to feed him, I don't care how hungry he is, that dog's going to come up very slowly and take it out of your mouth a little at a time to trust you. And that's all the park people, they earned our trust because they looked out for us, like in the true sense. When it was dangerous, like when there were arguments that started to happen because someone hit someone in the basketball court or someone was pushing, they would literally come out and say, you, get out.
Right. And that's why, too, I know we try to keep it light and everything on the broadcast, but on the show, I should say. But, honestly, sometimes I don't think people understand the power of a man reaching down and mentoring other young men and boys. And you got to be careful, obviously, in this day and age. But man, those guys really changed our life and really helped us.
Well, one thing I'm going to say, and I really don't care if I get grief for this. I don't care. Maybe you care, but I don't care. But there's a famous line in the movie, Boys in the Hood, where he basically takes his son and he tells his wife, a man needs to raise another man. Like, I love women a lot, but I truly feel that a true man raises another man and teaches him how to be a man. You know what I mean? We were raised by a very tough mother, very tough. In fact, I kid around and I said this a couple of times. My mom was the toughest man I know. At the same time, Danny, think of all the manly men that have taught us how to be men.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. These guys, I'm indebted to these guys because they taught me. One, they taught me not to take any junk from anyone. They would be like, "Don't start a fight, but don't ever back away from one." All these guys would, Danny. Think about Frank Munoz, Old Man Hank,
the one guy
Ron, Jesse Delp. I mean,
that was
not Jesse.
Not Jesse.
But yeah,
we got something on Jesse. Scammed the Little League. Anyway, but no, there was one guy. He really wasn't like a mentor to you, but you knew him, but I don't know if you knew him like I did. His name was Pete Kanye, and I'm sure he's passed away by now.
Yeah.
But Pete was of Hungarian descent. And Pete played professional baseball, and from all of the running and all the stuff, he was kind of bow-legged from all the years, and he was a tough guy. Oh, he was so tough. But I don't know how he asked me, but he asked me or talked to me, and he said, "Hey, Danny, getting ready for baseball season?" And I just told him, I said, "Well, I don't know, Pete." And he goes, "Well, how come?" I said, I'll be honest, I don't even have a baseball glove. And I didn't say it. You know how some people throw bait, hey, if I say this, I'll get, no, I just sincere. I said, "Hey, I don't have a baseball glove." I said, okay. And so the next week, Pete came and said, "Danny, come into my office." Because remember, they had that big park.
Oh, yeah, man.
And I went in there, and Pete gave me my first baseball glove. And this guy wasn't even family or whatever, or didn't even know our situation. But he was tough, man. He taught me how he took me in the gym, and he taught me how to field a ground ball. He taught me how to catch it on one hop. He taught me all the fundamentals of baseball, man.
Well, when you talk about love of sports and where our love of sports come, if you look how we've been talking, we've had all these mentors, the people that we loved, that looked out for us, that weren't even family, that they would wear like full-on sock scarf. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, Hank used to watch TV all the time. Do you remember he had his little TV? And he would watch sports games, and like all these people would watch sports. So we were like, like born into it, because like this is a place that was literally a block from our house. And we would spend 80 to 90% of our time there in the summer with these guys. And these guys were always encouraging us to play sports. And they were always talking about sports. You know what I mean? And that's where I truly think and the friendships that you make with everyone around, because everyone, you and I talk about, we never knew we were poor, but that's because everyone around us was poor.
Right.
You know what I mean? So our love of sports came from the community. Everyone around us loved sports. It was their way.
People, man. They were good people.
It was their way of escaping,
Right. Well, also too, man. I don't know if you remember Bobby Aguilar. Bobby Aguilar was, he was always real fit, trim, good-looking guy.
Yeah.
And he taught us how to play baseball, taught us the basics. But it's a true story. This is a true story. Funny. The second time the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup, me and Karen went downtown to the Stanley Cup parade. There was something like 2 million people there at that parade. It was maybe more. I think it might have even been more. That might be lowballing it. But there was millions of people there at this rally, and me and Karen are literally pinned up against this wall watching the parade. And there's a guy that stands right in front of me, and I look at him, and I go, "Bobby Aguilar." It was Bobby, and so we caught up right there at the Blackhawks parade. But good guys. But let me ask you real quick. Because we'll wrap up here in a little bit. But let me ask you, where do we lose it? How come we're not into sports anymore?
I mean, you
I'm
are.
not.
I mean, you're kind of Danny. I mean, you're. I mean, for the longest time, you were definitely into the Bears and watching the Bears on Sunday, and then probably like every other fan, you just got discouraged and quit out. I mean, I could, but you don't watch any sports at all. Do you watch like? I mean, do you watch like March Madness? Do you watch like, what I'm saying, like when you don't watch any at all?
I watch like the playoffs now,
Do
playoffs and
you?
championship games.
Okay.
I don't really follow the seasons anymore.
I mean, do you remember? I used to be. I mean, I was never the sports nut you were. Like you wanted at one time. You wanted to be a broadcaster, Danny. So like you really loved sports and you knew statistics and all that. I followed sports for the longest time. I think like the first baseball strike is when I actually really stopped watching baseball because I was like, here's these guys making what was that 92, 93? What was it? The first baseball strike
Yeah,
when they
like
struck
91, 92.
Okay, 91, 92. That's when I stopped watching. And then I actually took it back up when the stock started doing better, and then they ended up winning, the championship and stuff. And then, if you look at it, and I want to talk, sports are positive. Like if you want to bring your kids into sports and teach them something structured and, they bond, with other kids, that's fine. But the one thing, if I'm just going to be real, sports, in my opinion, is a way for males to bond. If you think about it, it truly is a male-driven thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, women can say, like, well, we have the WNBA, we have this. There would not be ESPN or all these other networks if it wasn't for men. They pay the bills. Hey, I don't care. They pay the bills. It's a way. It's a male-driven thing. It's a way for males to bond.
Right.
That's one. I looked at it. What happened was, is like, I've always worked on average, like anywhere minimum 45 to 60 hours a week. So I never really had time. And I started really looking at like, what were time suckers for me, like in relationships and whatever. And like, why didn't I have enough time for other things? And when I really did some soul searching, I realized playing video games, total time sucker. You remember, Danny, I was a huge video gamer.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the other one is that I was like, and sports. I mean, who really cares? Like, let's just be honest. Back in the day, like when I'm saying this World Cup, back in the day meant something because everyone had to be from that country. Now you got like people from Nigeria playing from like England because they can become citizens like within 2 months and they're naturalized. Whatever they become, they basically get bought to play for these countries. So it's not true. And that's how I feel about baseball and all these sports. Whoever has the most money, is gonna win, Danny. And so it's like, and I get it, the civic pride, Chicago, huge sports town, New York, huge sports town, and I get the civic pride, but like how many hours a week on average, if you watch one sport, how many hours a week is it for you?
Oh man, if you were like to really get into it and follow it,
Yeah,
I know guys like DVR it and all that stuff, and just
one sport, not one, just one.
It could consume
5 hours,
6, huh?
5, 6
I was gonna
hours.
say 5 to 7 hours easy.
That's one sport. Imagine if you follow two.
Right.
That's 10 to 20 hours in a week or in a month. Think about this time if you actually took your kid out. And actually took them out. Now, don't get me wrong, your kid, that's another way to bond with your son or whoever you're watching sports. But are you really? You're just sitting down.
Honestly, I think you're onto something there. And I honestly think that might be one of the reasons why a lot of sports are actually declining. I know, like right now, the NFL.
It's politics, Danny.
Well, I know the NFL thing with the U.S. with the standing during anthem and all that, but I think they were on a downside even before that. And I think one of the reasons is I think you're onto something there too. Is just people don't have the time anymore, man.
Well, well, the other thing too is my friend Aaron. Well, I think it's politics. My friend Aaron says the new owner or the new person in charge of programming ESPN publicly came out and said ESPN will no longer do politics.
Really?
It's a sports-driven network.
Oh, I did not know that.
I think people are just tired of the politics. They just want to see the game.
Oh, okay. No, because here's the thing about it. The two things that sports did back in the day, and the two things that sports did back in the day was provide a pastime, entertainment, because people
Yeah.
now during the, after the Industrial Revolution, people had a lot more time before. People
Sure.
before used to work literally sun up to sundown, working in agriculture on the farms. There was never any extra time. When people started doing the 30 to 40-hour work week, there was a little bit more time. So people had extra time. That was one thing. But also, too, baseball and sports and all these things became an escape from the day-to-day grind of life. And now what it has become, number one, we don't have time anymore. It's being sucked away. People have to work longer and harder to pay the bills. But then also, um, people are pulled back into the craziness of this world when they're watching sports and they want to escape. And I think the same is happening. We don't want to go too far down the rabbit trail, but I think the same is happening in Hollywood. People just want to go tune into a movie and check out for 2 hours. They don't want propaganda. They don't want to be preached at. They don't want a political agenda. So that surprises me that guy came out on ESPN and said that we're out of politics.
Yeah, but yeah, the thing about sports, and this is what I'm saying. This is for me. Like, if you took the amount of hours you spend watching sports, and you took that and you decided to like do something else, like do something you've always wanted to do, travel, do whatever. You know what I mean? If you took one of the sports out of the mix, Danny, you would have so much time for. But also, too, can I tell you this? I understand it's an escape. It's also a way, like, they call it the man cave for a reason. It's a way to like, well, like, I'm not married, but like I have friends that are married and stuff. It's a way to sort of break away and say like, hey, hey, baby, I just want to relax and just watch the game. It's a way to decompress. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I get that aspect of it, but if you really look at it, who really cares, Danny? Like, who cares? None of these guys, the Cubs, Cubs won the series, they won the championship. How many of those guys are actually from Chicago?
Man, no,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's all money,
right?
Yeah. So,
well, I mean, that tells us kind of like how we've fallen away from sports. But on a final note, like, what are some things that, like, if maybe there's some parents watching or somebody watches this video a little bit later, what do you say about kids in sports?
Oh, me? What would I say about kids in sports?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a kid, but I know this. I know for me, it did a couple things. I got in a lot of fist fights, right? Danny, when I was younger, a lot of whatever. It teaches you like how to actually like bond with other males, and it also teaches you how to not bond, like how to stick up for yourself. Think about that, Danny. It truly toughens you. How tough did baseball make you?
Well, I mean, I was telling Karen this the other day, and we're going to give a shout out a little bit later to our nephew. We've got a great nephew that is now playing college ball, which is just phenomenal. But the one thing that sports does is once you become the king at one level, real quick you're introduced to another level. You go from the peewees to the the regular little league to the pony league, and at each level, man, you have people that are much bigger than you, stronger, and
competitive. You learn to be competitive.
And it prepares you for life. It teaches you that.
Let me ask you a question.
Let me ask you something. And I learned you better than that. But it teaches you that when you come into something, yeah, there's going to be people that are better than you and scary, but hang in there. You know what? You're going to get better, but also they're not as intimidating as you think they are. So
I agree with you 100%. I'll tell you this, Danny, and and we should wrap pretty soon. Yeah, I'll tell you this, right? You learn to be competitive. It teaches you to, like, you talk about different levels, right? I was a certain, like, now in my career, I was in one level in Chicago, right? Like, I thought I was a big fish, and I was kind of a big fish in a little pond. I come to LA, nobody knows me. I don't know how to edit reality TV shows. One or two things are going to happen. You're going to sink, or you're going to learn how to swim. And I think structured sports and this competitiveness I learned to be competitive taught me how to swim.
Right.
And
Oh, that's
and
great.
I
But
yeah, and I
yeah, the one thing not that I'm, not that anybody's gonna listen and like, hey, I'm gonna do what those guys say, but no, the one thing I would tell parents is like, first of all, chill out, with kids.
oh yeah.
The no one, I mean, very, very, very few people are actually going to go on to do that professionally. So just chill out.
Sure.
There are some, maybe, somebody identifies a gift in a kid, and it could be their ticket literally out of poverty and to another level, but very few are going to be
I
there.
say talent and genetics. Just because you think you're great, you may not be. Just because you're a huge, just because you can play basketball, you know what I mean, doesn't mean you could dunk the ball if you're, 4'3".
So I mean, I would say let them learn all the lessons that they're going to learn,
Yeah.
but also too, the thing I take away is let kids kind of play on their own and develop games in an organic way. Kind of let them, if they can. It's easy to say, but in communities now, sometimes parents can't let their kids out of eyesight, but
Or they can't let their kids lose. That's why we have the millennials. Let's be real. When we grew up, second place was last place, and that's a whole other conversation.
Well, I mean, millennials are our target.
Yeah,
they are on our target.
Yeah, but that's the truth. Like on the real, that's a whole other thing. Like if you lose, you lost, and if you lost because the team was actually better, then all power too. But if you lost because you think you deserve to win, or you think the umpires are being unfair, then stop your whining, start bodybuilding, start going and hitting the ball, and maybe you'll win next time.
Right. That's funny. Hey, well, thanks for joining us. We got a couple of shout outs and tidbits to kind of wrap up. Any Labor Day recommendations for folks at home for movies? You got a movie for folks at home maybe tomorrow? Or?
I do. I saw there's a movie called The Imposter. It's a great documentary. This guy made another movie called American Animals, and they're both documentaries. I'm a big fan of that. And then I saw Papillion, which is a remake, but it was good. It's the guy, the lead actor from Sons of Anarchy is in it. So those three.
What about did you tell me another one, the Mark Wahlberg?
The 22-mile one was awesome. I went in there thinking, it's Mark Wahlberg, but it actually had a great story. So pretty action based, a lot of curse words, but still worth it.
I won't be seeing it. Shout out to Jaden, our nephew Jaden Nacha, man. He posted a couple pictures on Instagram. He's a Division I football man.
Wow.
I'm so proud of that kid. His mom and they've been through a lot, but so proud of that kid. Went undefeated all of last season, won the state championship for the state of Illinois, 8A. Can't get higher than that. And last night, they won their first game in college. So this kid's been undefeated now for over a year in college football. So shout out to him. No other shout outs for you?
Nah, man. Just like, you guys have a great week. Enjoy your Labor Day weekend.
I'm done with shout outs. Notre Dame crushed Michigan.
Oh man, I thought you stopped watching Notre Dame when they actually lost. Like, who did they lose to? Alabama, or who's the big team that they lost to?
Yeah, Alabama.
Yeah, when you realized that they were technically not a football team, I thought you were gonna stop watching because they're in their own league. They're not even in. Come on, Danny.
Oh man, dude.
The hope is still alive.
Okay. Anyway, well, they crushed Michigan 24-17, and then we'll leave you on this note. You got to see this on YouTube or video, but Bill Clinton, Jesse Jackson, and one other guy caught checking out Ariana Grande as she was singing at some memorial service or something like that. That was just classic. So shout out to those guys, and should be doing that. But hey, thanks for tuning into the Danny and Albert Show. We had a great time. Even if you didn't, we did. But you can always go back and watch these videos if you want, and then you can also subscribe, get notifications when we're going to be live on the air. If you have an idea for a show, go ahead and comment if you want. Leave us a message on Facebook, but let us know. And we'll see you again next week.
Have a good one.
Goodbye, Albert.
Have a good one. Hit subscribe.
Peace out, guys. Have a good week.